Fellow FPL managers, we are here for the Game Week 3 transfer targets, and it's time to see which players are actually good in FPL because it doesn't seem like there's too many left. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Now, to the small number of you who regularly watch my videos, I do apologise for the lack of videos in Game Week 2. I had a very busy week, but we are straight back on it. We are first going to be looking at the fixture difficulty rating among all 20 teams in the Premier League. And there are a few clear frontrunners for the next 6 game weeks, specifically Villa, Spurs, Bournemouth, and maybe Wolves despite playing away to Newcastle in Game Week 4. Now, looking at the top with Aston Villa, they've scored 0 goals in the first 2 game weeks. It's not looking good for them, but their fixture run looks so insanely good. It is way better than any other team in the league. I mean, Spurs and Bournemouth don't have any hard games either, but you've got Villa playing the likes of Sunderland and Burnley in the next 6 game weeks, which you can't say the same for Spurs or Bournemouth. Looking at Spurs assets, there's quite a few minutes risk players in that team, in that starting 11, so I'll be talking about their players in more depth later in the video to decide who are actually the best value players who are going to give you reliable minutes. As for Bournemouth, it's fairly simple that Semenyo is the best player to get from that team. Then in Wolves, it's clearly Strand Larsen the best to get. Even though Wolves haven't done anything these last 2 game weeks, it's still pretty obvious the only player who's actually got a chance of getting some returns. Looking at teams towards the bottom of the list, you see teams like Arsenal, Brighton and West Ham in particular, which players will earn assets from. I don't think it's worth selling Arsenal players. Recoveries did score a brace, but I wouldn't be eager to get him in. In fact, I still believe Watkins is a slightly better option than Recoveries, and he probably will outscore Recoveries in the next 6 game weeks. As for Brighton, if you have an attacker or a defender from that team, it's a good time to sell them. There's a lot of good players you can bring in that are similar price points. For example, with the defenders, you can look for a cheap Spurs or Bournemouth defender to bring in your team. And if you've got West Ham players like Bowen and Fulkrug, there's plenty good forwards to transfer in. And we'll go into more details in the next players to buy video for Game Week 3. I would say teams, Chelsea and above, have at least decent fixture runs, players you should look to buy from, or players you should hold on to if you have players from those teams. I mean, looking at Forest, if you have cover for Game Week 4, you have the 3 easiest fixtures in the league possible, West Ham, Burnley and Sunderland, back to back to back, as long as you have someone to put on the bench for someone like Nico Williams or Chris Wood. If you've got that bench cover, Forest are technically one of the best teams to buy from. Looking at Spurs here, I've got Kudus and Sarr as the best 2 assets to buy, which may not make a lot of sense to you with the likes of Richarlison doing well, with the likes of Brennan Johnson doing well, with the likes of Solanke coming back from injury. But those 3 players I just named could all be minutes risks, especially the 2 strikers. Richarlison and Solanke will now be competing for that striker spot. It's not just set and done Solanke now. Richarlison is playing well, and Thomas Frank can't just ignore that. As for Johnson, fair enough he scored, fair enough he gets those back post tap-ins. The thing is, Brennan Johnson doesn't normally play well, and he hasn't played too great these past couple of game weeks. He does get himself in great positions. If you do own him and you catch him at the right time, that's great. He picks up the expected goals. But realistically, one bad performance could leave Tell or Odobert to come on and start ahead of him. And then you've got the likes of Kudus, who looks to be playing pretty well. And in a back 5, he plays as a striker alongside either Richarlison or Solanke. Obviously, with Solanke and Richarlison playing at the same time, that could change. But either way, I don't think Kudus is going to be pushed to the bench anytime soon because he's playing quite well. As for Sarr, I think he's going to be starting in that Spurs attack for at least until the January transfer window, unless they sign someone very last minute, because they couldn't get Eze, they couldn't get Gibbs White, and Maddison is injured. And Sarr coming in at that very cheap price, starting in a decent attack, is very good value. He's not going to bag you the most points. I mean, his underlying data isn't amazing going forward, but he will get some goal involvements. And he is pretty good for defensive contributions as well. He's averaging 9 per game right now, which isn't 12. You need 12 to get points. But the point is he's got avenues to go down to get these involvements. He's got creative potential and defensive contributions potential. With a good fixture run for only 5 million, I would say if you're trying to maybe upgrade to Haaland, maybe you're trying to bring in Salah, let's say you want to sell Palmer or Saka, he could be the player you bring in to afford Haaland. So he opens up a lot of doors for you guys who have started without Haaland and are slowly regretting it. I personally started with Haaland and I'm pretty happy with it. He's got the highest expected goal involvements over the first 2 game weeks. And I think he's going to keep that up for a little while. Now, Aston Villa. People are considering selling the Aston Villa players. I'm the complete opposite. I think people should still be looking to bring in the Aston Villa players. Like I said earlier, they have the best fixture run, and I believe Watkins is going to outscore Gyökeres over the next 6 game weeks. Maybe just don't quote me on that because I'm not saying it's guaranteed. As for Rodgers, he's been stinking up just as much as Watkins, and there's plenty good options to go for like Kudus or Semenyo. But Rodgers still has a really good fixture run. The underlying data is not great for him. In fact, it's absolutely terrible. But Aston Villa as a whole have been playing bad. It's not like he's not as attacking as he used to be. Aston Villa just need to find their form, and they will. And I think Rodgers, once they do, I think he'll be involved in a lot of the goals going forward, and they can find their good form on this easy fixture run they have coming up. So if you have these players, 100% hold them. Please do not sell them. If you're looking to bring in a player as a forward or a midfielder, I'd pick Watkins over Gyökeres if you're looking at that sort of transfer. If you're looking for a midfielder, you could pick Semenyo and Kudus over Morgan Rodgers. But if you already have those two players or you don't believe in them, Morgan Rodgers is a good asset to get a hold of because he's very differential. And once Aston Villa find their form, you could be one of the only managers picking up points from him. Now, Cole Palmer. This one's fairly simple. If you have bench cover for one game week, it's worth benching Palmer for game week 3 and not selling him because the international break for 2 weeks is after game week 3. He has a decent amount of time to recover. We will hear more team news from now until the deadline, and if it looks like Palmer's going to be out for longer, then he is worth a sell. He could even be back before game week 3, though. He could be used as a sub. If they really risk it, he could even start, but that's a very unlikely scenario. The most likely scenario is, so far, looking at the information we have, is that he's out for game week 3 and he's getting back into it in game week 4. Maybe he's back in or maybe starting straight away, depending on how the recovery goes in the international break. But maybe you have Palmer and you want to get Haaland. Palmer is a player you could sell to fund him, although it is very, very risky because Palmer still has the ability to absolutely pop off and get a massive haul. Guys, let me know in the comments down below if you have Palmer and what you're going to do with him. As for Saka, it's a little different. He's looking like he's going to be out for several weeks, meaning he's going to miss game week 3 and some game weeks after the international break. If we hear any more information and that changes and maybe he's back sooner, he could be worth a hold, but as of right now, he is 1000% a sell. You know, the fixture run for Arsenal isn't great. They were near the bottom of the fixture difficulty rating, if you remember at the beginning of the video. And Saka for 10 million is not really proving his worth right now. I mean, fair enough, he did score against Leeds before he got injured and, you know, subbed off. But then again, it was against Leeds. When you're looking at his game against Liverpool next and then playing some more red fixtures further down the line, he doesn't look like a player you would desperately want in your team. So the conclusion for both of these players is Palmer could probably hold for now, but wait for more information. It all depends on the bench cover you have as well. As for Saka, with the information we have right now, you should probably be selling him. I've got some recommended transfers for you guys. Whether you're selling Saka or selling Palmer, all of these players on the right could be potential replacements. We have Bruno Fernandes as the Man United asset. I think is the best. And I think he's the best Man United asset purely because he has potential to do really well in the tough games. And I don't think the same for Cunha and Mbeumo. Because if Man United are defending for a lot of a game, they're not going to get many chances. But you have a player like Bruno who can get defensive contributions. He's on every set piece as well, so if they get a penalty, a free kick or a corner, he could be in for potential assist points or goal points there. Either way, no matter how tough the fixture is, Bruno has the chance to pop off, whereas players who rely on getting big chances won't be scoring as highly. So fair enough, that Burnley game, you could have Cunha or Mbeumo who could be better options than Bruno, but when they play Man City and Chelsea the game weeks after, Bruno is the better player to own, so that is why I think he's the best. But, you know, each to their own. If you disagree and you think Cunha or Mbeumo is the better player to go for, then go for it. In general though, I do think the cheaper midfielders are actually the best ones to go for right now. It's just sort of what do you do with that remaining budget? You know, do you try and afford Haaland? Do you upgrade the team elsewhere? I'm not too sure. It depends how many free transfers you have. But there's players I've named earlier like Semenyo, Rodgers, Kudus or Sarr. Sarr's here is a transfer option if you want to upgrade to Haaland. But if you're not thinking about that, then Kudus is the better option to go for. Either one, great fixture run, and they're pretty cheap. It all depends which one you prefer. If it was me, I'd be choosing Bruno first as my highest priority. Then I'd be looking at Kudus, then Semenyo, and maybe Morgan Rodgers or Sarr if I'm looking to upgrade to Haaland. So these are the transfers I would recommend. Let me know if you have Saka or Palmer and you're thinking of doing anything differently. If you're thinking of switching to a different midfielder or a different player or maybe holding them, let me know down in the comments because there's plenty of ways to play this. But ultimately, if you have Saka, I think he's worth selling for one of these players. If you have Palmer, I think it's worth waiting for more information, then maybe holding or maybe selling for one of these players if it's looking like he's not going to be back until after game week 4 or 5. Anyway guys, that is the end of the video. If you did make it this far, thank you very much for watching. It's good to be back making FPL videos. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys for the next video.